Today I talked about how important well-being is to your HR strategy for several reasons. One is it is the energy for performance, and in a competitive and disrupted world we need all the energy we can get. But we also need to help people have resilience to manage that change and to manage that disruption. And we also need to help people to deal with the things that are just going on around us in society. So 1 in 4 people experience an episode of mental ill health, for example. And that may well not be related to their work, but it still of course comes to work. And so for us as a company, this is about our performance, but it's also about our purpose and being a purpose-driven company. And it's also just about doing the right thing for your people. So we talked about that, and we talked about how you can do that and how it doesn't actually need to cost a lot of money. So I think there are a couple of things. So we've been very active, particularly looking after the physical well-being of our people around the world for many years. And to be honest, it goes back to our history. William Hesketh Lever founded a village for his people to care for them and built a hospital in that village. So this is very much part of our DNA. I think it's been reinforced for us because our purpose is to make sustainable living commonplace. So if you want to do that, and part of that is about helping 1 billion people have health and well-being, you need to do that for your own people as well. But then of course what we're seeing in the world around us is more and more pressure on mental health in particular, and that's been a big driver for us, is to really see what's happening in the world and to respond to it and to help people to manage their mental health and their well-being. And you can only do that if you have a program that focuses on well-being holistically, because the mind, the body are all connected. So that goal of 1 billion better lives through health and well-being is part of our Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. And that's how we put our purpose into practice through targets. So that happens in a whole number of ways. For example, it's happening through the work we do with Dove and on self-esteem, which has already touched hundreds of thousands of people around the world. It happens, for example, through Lifebuoy and our work on hand washing, because 200 million babies a year lose their lives due to diarrheal infections. So by working with a brand like Lifebuoy, we can help to deal with that and address it, which is a crucial need. And then of course it's also through other brands we have. So for example, our brand Lynx has worked with in the UK with Calm, the campaign against living miserably, trying to raise the issue of male suicide and help that group, because young men are particularly affected by suicide, help them to understand and talk about mental health. So there's a number of different ways around the world which will achieve that target. I think the first thing that those companies need to think about is that over time, people aren't going to want to work for them. And so if they want to attract great people into their businesses, into their organisations, you have to care for the whole human being. The time when the employment relationship was about money for hands is long past. We work in a very knowledge-based economy, and that requires the whole person to come to work. The strategy of not caring for people was always wrong, but it's going to cost companies dear in today's economy. Every piece of research on mental health shows that the line manager has a crucial role. You have to feel sorry for the line manager. There's a lot of pressure. And so some training is important, which is why we've got over half of our line managers in the UK trained in mental health first aid, because you do have to help people and you have to equip them to have the conversation. And that's what a lot of this is about. It's about having line managers who create the environment in which their people are willing to speak, and who then have the skill to not to have to solve the problem, but to signpost where people can go for help and to try and manage work accordingly. The really important thing is wherever possible, people stay in the workplace, and because work is actually fundamentally good for you. So the goal is you have line managers who create the right environment in the first place, and if issues arise, allow the person to stay working, whether it's reduced in some way or adjusted in some way, so that people can stay and recover whilst working. That's the best thing for the person. So that takes training. It also takes support from good HR people in medical and occupational health, and the right platform of tools. So by that I mean, as well as training for line managers, it's also about having employee assistance programs, places that people can go to get help when they need it, maybe actually without telling anyone in the company. So we, for example, now have this month, everyone working in Unilever worldwide will be covered by an employee assistance program, somewhere they can either go online or call to get help when they need it. Those are the kind of things you need to put in place to also support the line managers, because they can't do it all. So I think there are three key messages. The first thing is every organisation needs to have a wellbeing strategy as part of its HR strategy. It's part of running a good company, it's part of how you attract the very best people, but it's also about how you generate the energy for high performance, the energy to help people thrive in a constantly changing world. And that change will not stop. The second thing is that it doesn't have to cost a lot. Sometimes people think that these programs need to be expensive, but they don't. There are a lot of free resources around, and particularly in the UK, which is quite advanced in this area. Organisations like Mind, like Time to Change, have resources available which can help an organisation put together a plan very easily. And I really encourage people to take the Time to Change pledge and to put that plan together and to use those resources. And there'll be more of those to come through Mind, through the Heads Together campaign, more free resources. It doesn't have to cost a lot. And the return on investment is good. We've found when we've evaluated our own investments that we get between €4 and €10 back for every euro we invest in wellbeing. So it doesn't have to cost a lot, and there's a positive business case. And lastly, when we approach wellbeing, we need to approach it holistically. We need to think about the physical, but also it's closely connected to the mental wellbeing. We know from research that people are distracted more than half the time. And the more distracted they are, the less happy they are. So we need to address physical and mental health, and also purpose, meaningfulness. People need all of these things to have well-being.